I'm skipping the intro. We've already done
We
that
are
today.
skipping the intro. Yes, we have. We have already done that. I am live from my father's basement where we are preparing for the zombie apocalypse. Right there, we got the board up. We're good to
And
go.
by zombies you mean cats. So he doesn't get
Yes,
into the
yes, my
train
cat,
set.
Aegon cat.
Uh,
Oh,
we just got back from Supergirl, so let's get
we
into
did.
spoiler territory. Mild spoilers. We're not gonna get into much, but
Mm,
we're gonna review Supergirl.
mm.
Not a lot of news came out of this movie as far as who's gonna be doing voices of aliens. And the
Right.
only one that I noticed was, you couldn't deny it, was
Yeah.
Seth Rogen
He
playing a
actually. I
little
remember when
mini.
that news broke that he was going to be in the movie. I don't know if you ever saw it, but I saw that news and I was
No,
like, perfect. And of course, a certain segment of the fan base shit on it for some reason, which is
oh
weird because
yeah,
Seth Rogen's fucking great.
yeah, he's great. And he was great in this role. It was just a
Hmm.
quick scene, but it was a few scenes of him with some dialogue and being an alien carrying
We
Kara
could
around the universe.
we could definitely get closer if I had balls and an engine.
Yes. Overall, I enjoyed this movie.
Same.
It was definitely not. It's a bar below Superman.
Well
Um,
below. I feel,
yeah,
yeah.
a couple
Um,
bars below.
I mean, the biggest issue with this is like Craig Gillespie is a great director, and this
Hmm.
is probably maybe his worst movie that I've seen. He's a
What
fantastic
are the, what
director,
are
but it was
the
almost like
what are the
it really was
movies?
like Craig, I Tanya, Cruella.
Oh, okay, okay,
Um, there's another one I can't think of, but it was really like he was trying to like do a James Gunn movie. He just didn't have James Gunn writing it.
yep.
Because Anna Nogueira's script was a little bit not great.
Missing
Um, yes, and
story. Story was flooded for sure.
one big thing I would have changed around is I would have had the opening be the Krypton scene,
Yep.
and then she wakes up.
Instead of
So you
instead of
have that
flashbacks.
backstory instead of, because everyone knows we see Crypto get shot in the trailer or whatnot. So it would
Yeah.
be better to have that, and then when Crypto gets shot, you have way more invested, and then you go forward with that. It's just the editing choices, just I don't know, to me didn't make a whole lot of sense. But she was fantastic. I really did enjoy Lobo. I liked him a lot. Um,
Hmm.
I had the same issue apparently other people did at the end when he says "see you later, tits." A lot of people thought he said tits. Um,
I thought he said tits.
and then I remembered, like, as soon as he said that, I was like, "Wait, what?" And then I was like, "Oh yeah, he called her ditch from the bar earlier."
Hmm.
Um, but overall, I enjoyed it way more than I disliked it. The writing needed to be sharpened up a bit, um, which I guess could be an issue. I don't know going forward how, because James Gunn's been working on Man of Tomorrow pretty much since this movie started filming. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know if that had, maybe he needs to chill on actually making movies. Maybe he can just write them a lot, depending on how long he stays, if he stays through the merger and whatnot. I don't know, though.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. Especially
Same.
seeing, you can't go online without seeing it being trashed right now. Um,
Hmm.
but it also definitely reiterated the fact that David Cornsweet is probably, he's still my second favorite Superman, but he's my favorite on screen Superman on the
Yeah.
big screen by
Every
far.
scene with
Oh
him
my
was
god.
great.
Yep.
And the thing about that is, we'll get into some. I got some topics we'll bring up,
Yes.
but
Definitely.
first off, when she comes on Earth, she can't talk to Clark. Obviously, she speaks in Krypton. He speaks in
Yep.
English. She doesn't understand him. So there's an initial period of her being on Earth, especially when she first gets here, where her powers kick in.
Mhm.
And there's a scene. It fast forwards after she lands on where the Fortress of Solitude is. That's where her ship lands. That's where Superman shows her the fortress, tells her he's going to take care of her and show her
Mhm.
around. fast forwards her looking out of a window at the Daily Planet building. She's in the middle of Metropolis. This is probably right before Superman. Krypto's still a little bit puppy.
Correct.
And the city sounds, she's annoyed by them. The buses, the car horns, the people. So she puts the reason why she has the headphones and the Walkman, she puts those on to block them out. And I thought that was a great touch to the movie. Very small, simple touch, but I liked it. The other thing I want to talk about, we know what the suns do. These two movies, Superman and this, we know what the suns do to Superman, especially the yellow sun. Yellow sun gives him power. I think this may be the first time on film where we've seen other suns show what happens to super Kryptonians.
Yes.
I don't think it ever happened in any other Superman movie.
We've never seen a green sun, obviously.
Definitely not a green sun or a red. I don't think we saw a red sun either.
I don't think we've seen a red one either, yeah.
So it's the very first time, and the very first time we see a planet that has a fluctuating yellow and green sun. And at the very end of the movie, a little bit of a spoiler, that's where the final battle takes place on this planet, and Krem is there knowing that when the green sun rises, it's going to weaken, almost like kryptonite. It's going to weaken Kara to the point where she's almost having blood poisoning. Right. And then when that sun sets, the yellow sun comes up and she gains her powers again. And that's where the last battle takes place. She ends up defeating Krem. That was, I think, the first time we've ever seen that. And also, it was mentioned in Superman, but going to the red sun makes her human, makes her so normal. She can drink. Yep. Makes her so she can get drunk. And then once she gets back in the yellow sun, the drunk and the alcohol wears off of her, and she's like, "Yeah, I can't drink in the yellow sun." So I like that touch. I'm glad that they showed that in this movie, and I think it's one of the first times we've seen. I think they've shown it in TV shows, but on a film, it's pretty cool to see that. The movie itself, more Superman than I expected. I think than anyone expected.
Way more.
David Cornsweet. Yeah, David Cornsweet was in a bunch of scenes. Of course, like I mentioned, he was there when Kara landed, when she was a few years ago, when Krypto was still a puppy. I also like how she found Krypto. Get into that in a minute. But he was there. You see him training, giving her a suit so she could be more like him, so that people could trust them more. Love that touch. Also, fast forward to the end. We're going to get into that in a minute, but he shows up again at the very, very end, right before the credits roll. As far as her acting, as far as her as Kara, as far as her as Supergirl, I loved her as Supergirl.
Yes.
I knew I was going to like her, especially we watched House of Dragons season 1. I loved her then. I love her in this role. She's 23 in the movie. So she's a young adult, but she has so much trauma in her life, especially when her whole entire planet gets destroyed around her. So I love her as this character, and I cannot wait to see her in Man of Tomorrow. We'll get into that at the end. The Krypton background scenes of seeing everything on Krypton, we've seen it so many times. It's definitely a different Krypton. It almost looked like a bizarro version of Metropolis a little bit. It wasn't as flourishing. It wasn't as like Snyderized, I guess you could say.
There was no dick ships. So we didn't get dick ships in this version.
Yep. It looked just like a normal city. It looked like a normal planet. That you see a little bit of the beginning of what happens with Krypton. Of course, the earthquakes start. The Earth from underneath the core starts to erupt, and Krypton eventually explodes. We see Argo City. Argo City, like Kandor, is bottled up into a kind of a dome and sent off planet when Krypton explodes, and that's where she lives. But however, when Krypton explodes and they're out in the space away from the explosion, and they're floating through space underneath Krypton, there's minerals that start to form, and that's what kryptonite ends up becoming. And that's the kryptonite eventually is what comes to Earth and lands on Earth and becomes the poison to Superman as well. But it's poisoning everybody on Argo City underneath this dome in the middle of space. And her father and her mother are there. Her mother does die in the movie. Very sad scene and they have to bury her, and that's where she finds Krypto. But her father finds the plans that his brother Jor-El made to send Superman to Earth, and makes a ship large enough to hold her. because at the time you're thinking, why? Well, like Finn, who we went to the movies, he asked us as we were leaving, is why didn't they just go off Earth? They didn't have the technology or go off Krypton. They didn't have the technology to send. They didn't have a spaceship to send anybody off Earth. That's why they had a small capsule to send a baby. Would be enough for a long travel to get to Earth. That's why they didn't have the technology to get that far. They were getting there, and then eventually, when Jor-El's brother, who is Kara's father, built a ship to save her because she didn't have the poison of the kryptonite on Argo City that was destroying her. So he's like, I want to get you out of here before that takes over your body too, because he knew he was dying. He knew everybody else on the planet was dying. Since she was born on Argo City, it's also the other rare thing. She was born after Krypton exploded, 8 years after Krypton exploded, 8 years after Clark was sent to Earth. She was born on Argo City in the middle of space under a dome. So that's why the poison hadn't hit her as fast as everybody else in this dome city. So she knew they knew everybody was doomed. So he built the ship, sent her to Earth, and that's where Clark found her, where the Fortress of Solitude is, and whatever pole they are.
Yes.
Love that. Love the Krypton. Love the Argo City. Love all of that stuff. I wish we got more of it though. And
it was like 7 minutes of the movie, give or take.
And I don't think, and we didn't get the origin with Superman. We just got right to the second or third year, or however long he's been Superman. We got right to the action. So it's good to see that in this universe, different take of it. Of course, every time they do a new origin story of Superman, we always get a new take of it. It's another way of doing that, not glomming on it in the beginning of a Superman movie and Superman franchise. So, Lobo, like you said, Momoa, born to play this role. Great in this role, but I'm sick of Momoa right now. The Momoa everywhere, and he did a great job with this character. Watered down. I would love to see an R-rated version of him.
Yes,
do an R-rated solo or a TV show or something.
Or he could be. I was gonna say, or he could be in something that is more R-rated, not having to be the main guy.
Not being restrained.
But not like he could be in like say I don't know, Lantern season 2 or something like that. Or something else on HBO, something like that. He doesn't need his own thing. I don't know if Lobo can carry a whole. I mean, I guess you could have said that about Deadpool or anyone else, but like I don't know if Lobo would have the juice to carry a full movie on himself. But it'd be great to see him and be able to actually let loose in an R-rated with a little bit better dialogue and writing.
The dialogue was not good in this.
I think a James Gunn Lobo movie would be really good.
Or Lobo in something that's well written is all I really care about. Because the basic what this basic review is going to be is the writing in this movie is atrocious. It's not good. It's the acting that carries it. It's the people that were cast to play these iconic characters from the comics. Supergirl's been around since the 50s, I think, 40s or 50s, whenever she debuted. So it's been a role that's been done a few times. It's been done with one movie back in the 80s. This is the first time they've done a actual movie and taken it seriously. So there's a little bit of a hiccup here, but overall is enjoyable.
Speaking of the 1984 film, I watched it for the first time ever to prep for this.
Oh God, why?
Because I had never seen it. And that movie defines the word grimace. We rate things as a grimace through 5. And that movie is fucking awful. Like, I think Superman 4 might be better. It's so bad. So bad.
The Superman movies are better than Supergirl for sure. The other thing I want to talk about before we get into the end, Krem. Wasn't a big fan of what they did with Krem because we read the comic book. Wasn't a fan of the villain. Wasn't a fan of what they did with him in the movie. I did like Ruthie chasing him through space.
Yes,
but why?
Yeah,
what is the reasoning?
I don't understand why they taser faced him or whatever. I'd like to know
and the
why.
Look. I didn't like the look.
Because the guy they cast looks just like Krem in the comics. One thing though, before I forget, you mentioned Ruthie. I like how because the comic is written from her perspective, basically. I like how all the major action scenes were all from her perspective. Like it was all the camera was around her, and it was her just watching everything happen. I enjoyed that aspect of it. In the last fight, I thought was really dope. But yeah, Krem was pretty good in the comic, but like he was never he wasn't in the comic much either. He was probably more in this movie than he was in the comic.
Which showed in the movie that he was a weak
Right.
villain to begin with, because
Right.
it was
He was
very weak in the movie.
I saw someone say he was a Phase 1 Marvel villain, and that's kind of how it felt. Like he was just kind of
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can see
granted,
that.
in general, if you look at comic book movie villains in general, a lot of them are not great. It's just we have standouts like Heath Ledger's Joker that everybody's going to get compared to, but for the most part, they're about 50-50 on being very good or just
You know
whatever.
who the best one? You know who the best one is? You know who the best comic book villain is? The
Who's
best
that?
one, Magneto.
Yes, Magneto is great. But then again, Magneto is kind of like Thanos. He's kind of got a point. Can't lie.
Yeah.
Magneto he teeters on gray to me in most iterations.
He's got a purpose that you can actually stand behind.
But like if we're looking at like villains for movies, he's definitely especially the way he's portrayed by both Ian McKellen, right, and Fassbender. In those movies, he's an incredible fucking villain, but he also has a point.
Yep. And the final battle, they beat Krem, they beat all the bad guys, and Ruthie gets her revenge. Well, she actually doesn't get her revenge. Supergirl stops her because she realizes if she kills Krem, that's going to sit with her for the rest of her life. So Supergirl's the one that actually takes the sword and stabs Krem and kills him, and leaves Ruthie to have a normal life and not have to have that on her conscience for the rest of her life.
That's where the movie kind of. Yes,
that's where all the action. The movie ends there, and she goes back to Earth with Krypto, and she lands into Superman's apartment as he's coming in from saving the city or doing whatever. And they sit down in his living room, the same living room that him and Lois sat in, and Superman watching the aliens fighting outside the window. And they have a talk, and he's like, "You can stay here. This is your home too." And she kind of agrees with him after that journey through space and everything she's went through. She's like, "Yeah, I have family here. This is even though I lost my family, this is home to me now. This is my home. You're my family." So, and that's where the movie leaves off. And as Krypto's eating chocolate in the kitchen because he's ransacking Superman's kitchen, Clark's kitchen.
Yes.
That's where the credits roll. No after credits, by the way. Which is weird for a DC movie because I think we've had after credits in almost everything. What is this setting up? Man of Tomorrow. We know now that Kara is now part of that cast. We know that Millie Alcock is part of that cast, and she's going to be fighting, we guess, Brainiac and teaming up with Superman. So she's all part of that story in the comics anyway. So very exciting to have her part of that cast. Very exciting to see where this goes. A year from now, right? A year from now, man.
July 9th.
So.
Yep.
So overall, I enjoyed the movie, but it had a lot of flaws, and every review is right about that. But I think some of the reviews are a little harsh because there's a war against comic book movies right now, especially the output of how many came out in the short amount of time that it did. And I think a lot of Hollywood, especially snobs, a lot of Hollywood snobs, a lot of review snobs are fighting against comic books and the big blockbuster of everything. It's not just comic books, it's blockbusters in general and how they're vapid and they don't have a story. They can't tell a story. They can tell a story. It's just you have to know the right people to put in charge to tell that story and the right writers. And there's a lot of hits, but there's a lot of misses too, unfortunately, and that's a lot more than there used to be 10 years ago. Hi,
right.
Your dad's behind you. So review number for me, I was sticking between a 3.5 and a 4. I think I'm going to stick with a 3.5. I did enjoy it. I will watch it again, but it's definitely mid. A little upper mid for me, as far as story wise. But I love all the acting. I love all the casting of this movie, and going forward, I can't wait to see. Like I mentioned, in my Superman review, I love this universe. I'm glad every time I see more of it, and seeing this, I cannot wait to see Lanterns, as we're going to get even more deeper into the universe of, especially outside of Earth. So cannot wait. 3.5 for me.
Yeah. Yep, 3.5 for me too. Because it'd be a solid 7 out of 10. If we're ranking out of 10, so 3.5 is perfect for me. I'm also super. I was looking through my letterbox. I'm like, I feel like 98% of the movies I see are 3.5 out of 10
It's
with what I've
funny. I
ranked them.
say the same. I say the same
Like,
thing too. It's because it's like
I
I
need to be
mentioned
harsher,
before.
but
Like
yeah.
a 3 for me is something that I probably may never see again. If I do, it'll be
Hmm.
10 years from now. So
Yep.
3.5 is a little bit better than that. Anything lower than a 3 is something I'll probably not watch again ever.
Mm,
If I do, it'll be kind of torturous. But
yeah.
overall, happy with the direction DC's going.
Same.
I read an article saying that if Warner Brothers is happy if this movie worldwide makes at least $300 million, they'll be happy and they'll think of it as a success. I'm not sure if
And
it will or not.
I think part of that too is it made the most ever pre-movie from other adventures like
Yeah,
KFC for a DC film. Um,
right.
and also like nowadays you get streaming. Like back in the day, they say the DVD sales, and yes, that's true, but they didn't
Yeah,
factor that in because that came 6 to 8 months after the movie was out of theaters.
yeah,
And that you also have to pay other companies more, but like HBO now they just put it on HBO and that's all theirs. Like
yeah,
He-Man, I think to get a sequel for He-Man, I think it's going to do really well on Amazon Prime, and it's going to make them a ton of money because so many
yeah,
people have the ad tier. Um, and so that's just another avenue where they never thought about that with DVD sales because you had to pay out other distributors and stuff like that at the same time as DVD sales, pay to have them made and stuff like that. Where now with streaming, they can just put it right on their service and essentially not pay for anything. Um,
yeah.
so
Yeah. So that's where we are with Supergirl. Cannot wait for Lanterns. Cannot wait for Man of Tomorrow, of course, and find out what
mhm.
else is going on with this universe. I just want to see more of it. Every time I see something new, I
Yep,
want to see more of it. We talked
yeah,
about Creature Commandos earlier. I want to see that too because that opens up a lot more than live action does when you have the animated
correct.
stuff. You do a lot more in
Yep,
animation with a lot more characters, a lot more episodic as well as far as
yep.
that's concerned. So that's it for our show this week. Next week, show and tell, beginning of the month. We'll have a show and tell. You said you had something you're going to show off. You're excited for.
I
Um,
really hope my other thing comes in because I got into a new expensive habit.
yeah, I can't
And I
wait to hear
ordered
about it.
another one. And yeah, I can't wait. And if the other one doesn't come in by then, I'm gonna do an unboxing and put it on the YouTube.
Okay,
So
cool. Yeah. Um, Cape Fear comes out tomorrow. We'll talk about the 2 episodes because the show's
yep,
really good.
I gotta catch
House
up.
of Dragon.
The bear,
Yeah,
House of
the
Dragon.
bear comes out. The bear came out today. All the
Yep.
episodes, so we'll watch that for next week. House of Dragon episode 2. We'll watch that. Coming out tomorrow night. Life, Larry, and the Pursuit of Unhappiness. That starts airing tomorrow on
Yes.
HBO. I'll talk about that. Brand new movie on Netflix starring John Cena and Eric Andre called Little
Hmm.
Brother. That comes out tomorrow as well. I'm going to watch that this weekend, and I'll give my opinion of that. Not a huge fan of Eric Andre, but I'll
I
watch
was
it.
about to say the same thing.
Um,
Yeah.
and X-Men 97 premieres on the 1st, which I believe is Wednesday. A 3-episode premiere.
Correct.
We'll talk all about that next week. In the month of July, big month. On the 7th, in 2 weeks, Dark Side of the Ring season 7
Mm.
premieres. It's all the first night, the first week is a 2-hour premiere of the making of TNA wrestling with Jeff Jarrett. Cannot wait for that. And the week after
That
is
should
the
be good.
follow up third part. On the 10th, Moana and Evil Dead Burn come out in theaters. On the 17th, The Odyssey. The week before, in a couple of weeks, we're going to watch Troy, or at least I am, because I've never seen it. And we're
Hmm.
going to talk about that because that's basically the buildup of The Odyssey. So we'll talk
Hmm.
all about that. On the 23rd and the 26th, it's Christmas time. Christmas in July for me, at least. San Diego Comic-Con. We're going
Yep.
to get a lot of news coming out of that, I'm sure. On the 24th, brand new trailer came out today. We'll talk about it next week for Motor City with Alan Richardson. Looks great. Comes out on the 24th. On the 28th, if you want to get it on the PlayStation for the very first time, Halo is being released
Mm.
on PlayStation, but it's a remake of the first game from the original Xbox, Combat Evolved. Comes out on the 28th. On the 31st, we've got 2 superhero things we're going to be watching. On the 31st on Amazon Prime, we got Batman Cape Crusader Season 2. And on that same day, we'll talk about Spider-Man Brand New Day. Cannot wait for that. Talking about it every week. I'm very excited for that. So thank you, everyone. Busy month of July. It's just a busy summer because then in August we got lanterns, so busy
Mm.
summer altogether. Thank you everybody, and we will talk to you next week. Peace.
We're the Geek Blurb crew, here to enlighten you, talking all things geeky from movies to wrestling to our podcast is the place where you wanna be for all the latest news and nostalgia from the 80s and 90s. We review comic book flicks and sci-fi hits, riding the wave of action movies with all the cool bits. From Iron Man to Star Wars, we cover it all. And when it comes to wrestling, we never drop the ball. Geek Blurb, we're the kings of the nerds, rating movies and pineapples, our opinions never blurred. Join us each week for a geeky chat with the latest scoop and a dose of nostalgia that. So if you're a fan of the comic book craze, or a lover of sci-fi and all its maze, tune in to Geek Blurb, we're here to entertain, bringing you the best